In June of 323 BCE, Alexander the Great died in Babylon. He died suddenly before he turned 33. People have always wondered if he died from disease, old wounds, or someone who killed him. But no matter how he died, he is considered one of the best military leaders in history. One night, he was invited to a party at his friend Medius of Thessaly's house. But he felt chest pain. He was feeling feverish, but he kept working and partying without taking care of himself. His health got worse. After spending the night partying with Medius, he went back home. Over the next few days, he kept doing his usual routine of sacrificing to the gods and having meetings with his officers, thinking he would get better soon. Arrian checked the royal diaries and found out that Alexander spent his last days drinking with Medius and then taking a bath, eating, and going to bed with a fever. The fever and pain continued to escalate, and then suddenly he couldn't talk anymore. Arrian said that when his condition grew desperate, he was taken to his palace. He recognized his officers when they came into his room, but he lost the ability to talk to them. Alexander the Great died on June 10th, 323 BCE. Immediately after his death, rumors began to circulate that Alexander had not died of old wounds or a fever, but was poisoned. One person suspected of being involved was Antipater, who was the regent. Another suspect was Aristotle, the old tutor of the king, who hadn't forgotten that Alexander had killed Callisthenes. According to the rumor, Cassander and his younger brother Iolaus, who was the king's cupbearer, were chosen to poison Alexander with poison provided by Aristotle. Cassander had a personal problem with Alexander. When Cassander arrived in Babylon, he laughed when he saw the Persians bowing to Alexander. This made Alexander angry, and he grabbed Cassander's hair and slammed his head against a wall. The poisoning supposedly happened at a party thrown by Medius, who was Iolaus's lover. After drinking the poisoned wine, Alexander screamed in pain. He tried to make himself vomit by asking for a feather from Iolaus, which was also poisoned. Roxanne, his wife, took him to bed. The next morning, when he asked for water, he was poisoned again and died quickly. However, the theory that Antipater and Aristotle were involved in the poisoning doesn't seem likely. Arrian, a writer of that time, said that he knew there were many stories about Alexander's death, like Antipater sending him medicine that was tampered with, but he considered them just stories. Even the famous historian Plutarch dismissed many rumors about the king's death, especially the idea of poisoning. Alexander had been weakened by many battle wounds, especially an arrow that hit his lung. The combination of a weakened body and the possibility of malaria was too much for him to survive.